Thank you, Max.
Don't go away, much more coming away, so stay right there. Hi, I'm Max Keiser. Welcome back to the Keiser Report. Let's stay on this Blythe Masters theme. I have Pierre Jovanovic in the studio. He is the author of Blythe Masters. Pierre, the spider has come out of her nest. She's made a public appearance on television. Tell us, is this to try to deflect some PR away from, for example, Goldman Sachs? When Greg Smith came out with that letter, he said Goldman Sachs does all these awful things. Are they trying to get ahead of the PR curve by putting Blythe out into the media? What are your thoughts at this point?
My thoughts are quite simple. You know, there is only one apparition of Blythe Masters on CNBC, and it was an interview made by Bob Pisani. But she didn't spoke at the time for JP Morgan. She spoke for the SIFMA. So she was the head of the SIFMA at the time. This was let's say, the only mainstream interview of her. And that was like 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. And now, suddenly, she came out to talk about this university. You know, they gave, the JP Morgan Bank gave $5 million to the University of Denver, you know, to open, you know, special lessons and diplomas about commodities, you know, agricultural commodities mostly. And this is absolutely fascinating. Yes, she came out first because they need to have students, you know, to learn how to manipulate the commodities.
A cult.
But this is,
it's a cult.
Well, let's say that. Yeah, that's, this is something very new, basically. And the second point is that we started to see a very bad press about JP Morgan also. And on the media point of view, JP Morgan has taken the path of Goldman Sachs, by the way, with the silver position and mostly with silver position and gold position. Take this point. The Financial Times wrote a huge articles 2 days ago about JP Morgan position, especially on the MF Global scandal, which add up to the Goldman Sachs. So yes, on the media point, JP Morgan is in not very good shape. Let's just remind you a very important point. Luca von Prague, who was the PR of Goldman Sachs, let's say that he has been fired. He has been fired for what happened in the press with Goldman Sachs. And who replaced Luca von Prague, if you know the information are good, it was the previous PR of Timothy Geithner. So it's interesting.
All right, so on this topic of incest, let's talk about, you mentioned Geithner, Blythe Masters, Jamie Dimon. I mean, let's keep in mind that JP Morgan has $90 trillion in derivatives.
Yes.
That essentially they park on the balance sheet of the Fed. They
Yes.
don't really keep it on their own balance sheet, but they nevertheless control it there. Simultaneously, you've got this issue of market making that she claims to be involved with on all manner of markets, including global commodity markets. We'll get to that in a second. Simultaneously, you've got Ben Bernanke, who goes out and testifies in Congress that he doesn't see any inflation out there. And of course, as one of the data points you point to prove that there's no inflation is the relatively subdued performance of gold and silver and other commodities. And yet, when you take a step back, what you find out is that Blythe, who's the commodity head in London of JP Morgan, is buying commodities aggressively around the world. Simultaneously, to give them that opportunity, they like to keep the price of silver relatively cheap so that people are not tipped off, you know.
Exactly.
Okay, so the Fed, Geithner, Masters, Dimon, they're all in bed together. Meanwhile, JP Morgan tells about the commodities that they're buying. And they have a university now to educate the next generation of JP Morgan cult-like zombie neoliberal idiots. Go ahead, tell them about the commodity position.
Yes, this is basically what you know I've shown in the book is that Blythe Masters she left the credit default swaps operation in 2007.
The credit default swaps.
Right.
She left.
She left this department and she took over the commodity commodities department of JP Morgan, which was extremely tiny at the time. JP Morgan didn't have any kind of history, I mean strong history in commodities. And she started to say that in crisis moments, people will always need to buy oil, they will need to feed, they will need to go to the doctors and everything. So she is going to start to buy agricultural commodities. And this is exactly what she started to do in 2007 and 2008. And now, let's say, for example, what I'm showing in the book is that she's buying wheat, live cattle, oranges, cacao, cocoa, and coffee, of course, sugar number 5, number 11, and so forth. And not only she does that for the bank, but she does that also for all the customers of JP Morgan. So this is extremely interesting because she is putting the whole world. I mean, think about that. She made $3 million in her department. She just blew out the Goldman Sachs girl. I mean, JP Morgan point of view, she did a tremendous job. No, that's for sure. But this is what we have seen together like 1 year ago, I think, is that we are now in an extremely like a French Revolution state, because in 1788, the aristocrats were the only ones to be able to buy land, and to sell the commodities, to agricultural commodities. Now, what we're seeing with JP Morgan is that not only Blind Masters and her department are buying all the agricultural commodities in the whole world. That's why, for example, you have seen, last year the price of coffee, jumping like between 20 and 30% more. And you are paying, I am paying, and everybody who's watching us are paying JP Morgan. It's not only thing. She's doing that for everything. And this is something new because we're going back in history. Banks are buying our commodities. They are taking, their money even before, a steak is landing in our kitchen. Think about that. Since when the normal bank, like 30 years ago, since when did you go to the bank, to buy a steak, to buy some oil, wheat, cereals, and orange juice and everything? I mean, this is absolutely out of hand.
Okay, so you're not buying from the market anymore. You're buying from the bank. The bank now controls these commodities. They own majority interest in these commodities. There's no such thing as price discovery anymore. There's no free market anymore. There's no supply and demand anymore. There's only the monopoly position of JP Morgan in all these commodities, the biggest commodity desk in the world now. Blythe Masters now out crooking and out tricking and larcenistically outperforming her counterpart at Goldman Sachs. She says they're not making any money and that they don't manipulate markets.
Well, from her point of view, she already, let's just remind something. She said, regarding the credit default swap, she said that she's not responsible, she's like Colt, or like Ford is not responsible if you get in a car accident, Yeah, I mean, on that point,
it's a firing line. Everyone's shooting, and nobody knows who's got the bullets. She said, I didn't have the bullets. I don't know how that guy died. I don't know why that guy in Athens blew his brains out. Me? I could have done nothing about it.
We have seen, and there is a couple of websites who have shown it, we have seen last year and even 2 years before the massive JP Morgan position, how they bought and how they unwind their position suddenly at once every Monday morning, at 9 o'clock or 7 o'clock, I don't remember. But it was quite interesting. So from Blind Master's point of view, yes, she didn't win any money. I'm just even wondering how JP Morgan and her department is making her money. That's quite interesting because she's not going to make much money if she don't do that. How did she make her almost $3 billion?
Serving customers.
Serving customers. I mean, it's very interesting. But don't forget that she's doing that for the Fed also. So
well, it gets back to the incest.
So we're going back to the incest, So gold price should be suppressed. Silver price, of course, should be suppressed. She showed already, last year how she killed the silver market. We have spoken about it. So this is nothing new. But Blind Masters is she's always acting like like a young intern of JP Morgan. We're doing a fine job, know, we're doing nothing wrong. We're hedging on hedges, which are also hedged on hedges and hedges. I mean, it's quite interesting. I like very much her naive propos, as we say in French. But she's not naive at all. She perfectly knows what she's doing. And of course, don't expect blind masters, come on TV, on CNBC specifically, and to say, yes, we rigged the whole market. I mean, of course.
It's interesting that for the past 20 years, if you had gone long gold and silver during market hours in Asia, and then shorted it when Blythe's up and running and conscious and had a cup of coffee when it's being pounded by her manipulation, you would have annualized over 40% a year. You would have outperformed Buffett, Soros, everybody. Because of this, the market, when she's asleep, is actually a normal market that is heading higher. When she gets up, she pounds it unmercifully with her naked shorts, and it brings it back down again.
Exactly. We have even seen better. We have seen, PR, some memos from JP Morgan's research, saying that gold is going to be extremely high, buy gold, everything, So everybody, just jumped on the, JP Morgan said we should buy gold. So they all bought gold. And exactly like 4 days later, the whole market was just killed at once, boom. So it was very interesting. And I remember I said on the radio, this is extremely dangerous because if the JP Morgan is saying, we should buy gold, something is wrong. Yeah, definitely. As you know, the Fed doesn't stand gold nor silver. And yes, blind masters. Don't forget, she never spoke to any kind of media. She never went on NBC, CBS, etc. She chose exactly the moment when she wants to be seen. And specifically, right now, she announced that, as we have seen, she gave $5 million to this university. So, which is interesting. By the way, since when banks are telling to university what they should teach? I mean, this is weird.
Yeah, well, she's like...
Well, the world is upside down.
It's a reverse vampire. She's active during the day. But the silver bullet is still capable of killing the vampire. If the physical silver is taken off the market, we can still kill this vampire dead, which is the point of my trip to upcoming New York. Anyway, Pierre Jovanovic, the name of the book is Blythe Masters.
And let me say just one thing for the last. There is a French painter who did a grandiose, a big painting of her, and you will have the surprise to show it to the English listener of your show.
Fantastic. We look forward to showing that. It's not like the Mona Lisa.
Exactly.
It's more like the Mona I'm screaming in pain because the Blythe's got me by the shorter, Lisa.
She became a very famous icon. She's the Marilyn Monroe of the financial crisis.
Oh, fraud. All right, well, that's going to do it. The name of the book is Blythe Masters. Pierre Jovanovic, he's also got one of the most listened to podcasts and radio shows in France. And that's going to do it for this edition of the Keiser Report with me, Max Keiser, and Stacey Herbert. I want to thank my guest, Pierre Jovanovic. If you want to send me an email, please do so. KeiserReport@rttv.ru. Until next time, Max Keiser saying bye, y'all.